So 91% of the people in the United States have access to at least one vehicle. However, probably less than 10% of that group is taking full advantage of the best car ownership hacks and tips that you can follow. By implementing these yourself, you can make your life much easier and save yourself a ton of time. Not to mention, most of these strategies are very inexpensive, if not completely free. And at the end of the video, I'm going to be giving you one additional tool that you can use to leverage all of these different hacks together. Also, quick thank you here, guys, to the sponsor of this video, which is Wells Fargo Cash-Wise Visa Card, but more on that in a bit. So just to make sure you guys are in the right place here, here's what we're going to be covering in this video. First of all, we're going to talk about the proven best time you should be getting gas to save money at the pump. We're also going to be covering how you can significantly increase your productivity from your car. We're also going to get into the reason why your car isn't nearly as safe as you may think it is. We're going to be covering one of the best ROI investments that you can make on your car. And we're also going to be covering 5 methods for dramatically improving your quality of life on the road. But real quick, before we get into the gist of the video here, guys, I just have to make a quick disclaimer here that I am not a financial advisor. None of this here is any kind of financial advice, and this video is sponsored. That being said, let's get into topic number 1, which is when is the optimal time to buy gas? And to be honest about this, guys, most people, including myself, have never really thought of this because we tend to go fill up our gas tank when our tank is empty. But did you know that you could actually potentially save money by timing these trips to the pump? And not to mention, there's actually a proven best time to get gas that relates to not only your bank account and how much it's going to cost you, but also the quality and life of your vehicle over the long run. So first of all, let's cover for your wallet, when is the cheapest time to get gas? Well, as we all know, gas prices fluctuate based on a number of different factors. Most people think the best time is in the morning because colder fuel is more dense. While this is true, the price difference there is minimal, so that's actually kind of a myth. And actually, the worst time to purchase gasoline is going to be on the weekend. Station owners realize this is when most people are traveling, so oftentimes you're going to see higher gas prices around the weekend. So as a general rule of thumb here, gas is usually going to be cheaper between 10 a.m. and noon on Wednesday. So if you're a very routine-oriented person, maybe put that on your calendar, revolving every single Wednesday. So that's the best time of the week and day to be filling up your gas tank. But let's talk about when is the actual best time for your car. So I actually know quite a bit about cars myself based on owning a lot of older vehicles that needed a lot of random repairs here and there. And I remember one of my friends always telling me, never let my gas tank get below 1/4 full. And the whole idea behind this was based on sediment that could potentially get into your engine. However, this was mostly a problem in the 90s when gas tanks were largely made out of metal. Essentially, over time, that metal gas tank would rust and sediment could in fact enter your engine and cause damage. However, these days, most new vehicles have gas tanks that are made of plastic, so this is no longer an issue for most new vehicles. However, there's still a good reason here not to let your fuel tank get below 1/4, and that is because at this point, even if you do have a plastic tank, the fuel pump might be pulling in air instead of gasoline. And essentially, this creates a lot of heat, and it's likely going to lessen the long-term reliability of that fuel pump. Essentially, you want to make sure that the fuel pump is always fully submerged in gasoline by keeping your tank above 1/4 at all times. Not to mention, it's always good to have some amount of gas in your car in case you have an emergency. You don't want to run out to your driveway and find that you have no gas and you have to go somewhere in a hurry. So basically, guys, it is generally good advice to keep a 1/4 gallon or more in your tank at all times. And if you want to try to save some money, you may choose to time your fill-ups and track those prices. So before we get into number 2 here, guys, let's talk more about today's video sponsor, which is Wells Fargo Cash-Wise Visa Card. Wells Fargo has been around since 1852 and is a trustworthy bank that is here to help you bring your unique vehicle vision to life this year. When I learned about the Wells Fargo CashWise card, I knew I had to share all of its amazing features, like how cardholders can earn unlimited 1.5% cash rewards on purchases, whether it's for that super important spare tire or the mobile hotspot to stay productive when on the go. Eligible new cardholders can also earn a $150 cash rewards bonus when they spend a total of $500 in purchases in the first 3 months of opening the account. So you can stop putting off that new car paint job and go back to being proud of your car. Plus, there's no more keeping track of different categories and restrictions with the CashWise card. And cardholders can earn cash rewards on recurring expenses that you pay with your CashWise card, which is perfect for monthly subscriptions on roadside assistance or music streaming for long road trips. To close, if you want to learn more about the CashWise card, you can click on the link in the description below or visit wellsfargo.com/cashY6. Terms apply. So tip number 2 on my list here is going to be upping or boosting your remote productivity. As remote work becomes more and more common in this day and age, we are often finding ourselves outside of the office environment. So why not take full advantage of this mobile workspace that you can create around you? So for example, let's say you're waiting for a client for a meeting and you have 30 minutes to spare. Well, most people would sit in their car and scroll social media or waste money on some purchase at a coffee shop or something like that. Well, instead, what you may want to consider doing is turning your vehicle into a mobile workstation. And honestly, guys, this can be a very frustrating experience if you're just stuck idling in a parking lot somewhere or pulled over on the side of the road and there's nothing that you can be doing. Well, if you plan ahead, you can simply work at any possible free time that becomes available. So by making just one purchase, you can significantly increase your mobile productivity, and that purchase is a mobile LTE hotspot. For under $100, you can buy a high-quality mobile hotspot to keep in your car, or some cell carriers offer this as part of their packages as well. However, once again, that mobile hotspot is of course for passengers only while the vehicle is in operation, so no texting and driving, guys, or accessing the internet or checking emails while you're driving. That is not cool and not safe. However, if you're not operating the vehicle and you're sitting in a parking lot, that is an entirely different story where this is a great use case. Also, one other quick hack here for kids. Let's say, for example, you bring your laptop with you and then you realize that you're trying to get work done while you're in a parking lot, but your kids are not entertained. Well, you can get cheap portable DVD players these days, or consider bringing a tablet or other device. That way they could stream content while you're doing work, all from your mobile hotspot. So moving on to tip number 3 is one of my favorites, and that is stocking up for those just-in-case moments. So right off the bat, one of the most important things you want to make sure you have with you at all times is the all-important spare tire. However, one thing that a lot of people don't do is regularly check the pressure of that spare tire on a regular basis. So even if you have a spare tire, you're also going to want to make sure that it is at the right PSI. That way, in case of an emergency, you would be able to use it. So what I personally do is every 4th time I fill up with gasoline, I do a quick check on my tire pressure, including the spare tire, to make sure that all of these tires are at the appropriate pressure, especially that spare tire, in case there was a roadside emergency. So most new cars today do come with a spare tire as well as tools to replace that tire. However, it's important to understand where these things are within the vehicle before you actually have an emergency. Now, beyond the spare tire, let's get into some other just-in-case items that I love to include in my cars. So number 2 on the list is none other than jumper cables. And I know a lot of people have forgotten about these because battery technology has improved, but if you're somebody who happens to drive an older vehicle, this is going to be a very important item on your list. For example, I still drive around a 1999 SUV as a winter beater car, and I can't tell you how many times I've had to either jump that vehicle myself or help somebody out utilizing those jumper cables. However, make sure before you jump a vehicle or operate any sort of jack for a tire, read all of the instructions and follow all of those safety procedures, and do it safely outside of traffic if you are on the side of the road. And of course, when in doubt, always call, somebody who can stop traffic if you are in a high traffic area trying to change a tire, etc. But jumper cables are an awesome tool to have, especially because if you're able to have somebody meet you, if you have a dead battery, it's not going to cost you anything to call a tow shop to come jumpstart or tow your vehicle. So in my opinion, jumper cables are an absolute must. Beyond that, there's a few other things I like to keep in my vehicle. I like to keep a record book in the glove compartment of all maintenance, as well as oil changes. I also like to keep blankets in there because I spend some time in the Northeast, so if you had a roadside emergency in the cold weather, you want to have blankets just in case. And I also keep things like ponchos and umbrellas and just general things that I feel I might need that oftentimes do come in handy. So I highly encourage you to make a list of things you might need and then organize that within your vehicle for those just in case moments. So tip number 4 on my list here is to rate check your insurance premiums. Especially for young people, car insurance premiums can add up quickly because you're considered to be a high risk driver. And this is especially true with younger males based on the general track record of these collective drivers. However, there may be ways to lower your insurance premium. The first thing I'd recommend is shopping around for free insurance quotes every couple of years just to see what other options are available out there. For example, the company that gave you car insurance at age 20 may not necessarily be the best deal at age 25, especially if you have a pristine driving record. You should also make sure that you are filing insurance claims only when absolutely necessary, because this is going to potentially affect the premium that you pay for years going forward. So keep that in mind. Car insurance is something you should only use when it's absolutely necessary. Another cool way to potentially lower your insurance is by purchasing a dash cam. Essentially, this is something that could allow you to record video in case there is any sort of traffic incident. So you wouldn't be in the situation of your word against theirs. You would have actual video evidence of whatever ended up happening, which you could turn over to the police or the insurance company if necessary. So drive cams are another excellent gadget that you may want to consider. Now, the fifth and final suggestion here is to make sure that your car is optimized for safety. Because like it or not, the truth is driving a car is one of the most dangerous things that human beings do on a day-to-day basis. And it's very important to make sure we're not taking any more unnecessary risk above and beyond operating that vehicle. So here's a couple of safety improvements that you may choose to make yourself. First of all, I would highly recommend keeping a first aid kit in your vehicle in case of emergency. And you can typically find these online for anywhere from $20 to $25, or they're at a lot of different stores. Or if you're looking to save even more money, you could simply make your own first aid kit. You may not have a motor vehicle accident, but let's say, for example, you're out camping and somebody gets a bug bite or a scratch. Having a first aid kit in your vehicle is almost always going to be an asset. Another useful feature on newer vehicles that I love is the backup camera. Unfortunately, a lot of older vehicles don't come with this built in. However, there are many different kits that you can purchase today that can add backup cameras and or backup sensors to older vehicles to improve their safety. So you could get a backup camera or sensor package for probably around $100 to $200 online. There may be some cheaper options too, but it's a really cool investment that pretty much has zero downside. Also, one other thing you may want to consider is backing into parking spots upon arrival, because believe it or not, it's actually safer to back in when you get there and pull out with your car facing outward rather than backing out into a parking lot where there's other cars and pedestrians. The last and final item I want to add on this list here is a blind spot mirror or blind spot monitor. There's two different options here. The smaller one is just a mirror that you can stick to the existing mirror to see your blind spot potentially. However, you want to make sure you follow all instructions as far as where that's positioned so you're not blocking view of the normal mirror. The other option is an installable blind spot monitor, which can be super helpful if you drive in a lot of heavy traffic. So if you have an older vehicle but you're looking to bring some new safety features to it, you may want to consider, in addition to a backup monitor, take a look at a blind spot monitor too, and while you're at it, maybe even a dash cam. So anyways guys, that is gonna wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. This is a good mix here of tips that I think we can all get something from to be safer or, have a better experience on the road. That being said guys, one more thank you here to Wells Fargo for sponsoring this video here with the Wells Fargo CashWise Visa card. Like I said, if you have any interest there, feel free to click on that link down in the description below, or that website is wellsfargo.com/cashwise6. Terms apply. Thank you so much for tuning in guys, and I will see you in the next video.